We left off Friday where the Chafetz Chaim says, cites a Gemara, the Talmud, that Torah has greater value than all the Karbanos. That although at the time of the Mishkan or the Beis Hamikdash or the temple, one would bring a sacrifice to atone for inadvertent transgressions. But today that we have no Beis Hamikdash, although the Gemara tells us that if you say the verses of the particular korban sacrifice, God values it as if you brought the sacrifice. And as I mentioned in the Chafetz Chaim, that's only if you understand what you're saying. And even when you say it, you have to feel it's unfortunate that we have no Beis Hamikdash, and we have to yearn that we wish we could bring it in its right context, the animal, as it should be done. But unfortunately, because we don't, therefore, next best is saying the verses which articulate and delineate all the aspects of that service. Okay? Nevertheless, Talmud Torah, the study of Torah, in terms of reinstatement, in terms of bringing us back to where we should be, Torah itself is significant in that. It's a level of spiritualization. You know, it's interesting, in the Shabbos and Yom Tif service, Shmona Esrei, we say that Hashem should katshenu mitzvosecha, He should sanctify us with the mitzvos. V'seichel keinu b'sorasecha. We should be sanctified with your mitzvos and give us our portion, our share in the Torah. Seichel keinu b'sorasecha. Now, first of all, what does it mean? Give us our portion in the Torah. So the Chafetz Chaim explains that particular piece, that at Sinai, the Torah tells us that every Jewish soul that was ever meant to be born till the end of time was at Sinai. Although there were only those who left Egypt who were at Sinai in the physical state, but even the souls that were not born into existence yet, they were exposed to God's presence in this existence at Sinai. As it says, that those who were there, those who were not there, even the ones who were not there physically, were exposed to what? To the Shekhinah, to the divine presence at that exceptional level, which never since then has it ever been exposed, the world, to that level. As it says in Chazal, in the Midrash, God brought heaven to earth. And that's why the world quaked, because the world didn't have the capacity to be able to deal with that presence, that intensity of Kedusha, of holiness. And then at Sinai, every Jewish soul received its portion in Torah, meaning two people don't necessarily have the same portion of Torah. The Talmud tells us that in utero, before a child is born, an angel studies Torah with every child, and he teaches that child the Torah in its entirety. As it says, there is a candle, a light burning over the child's head, and the child's able to see from one end of the world to another, and the malach and the angel teaches that child the Torah in its entirety, and right before the child is born to existence, leaves the womb of its mother, the angel adjures the child that he must keep whatever he was taught. And then the child is born, and the angel touches the child on his mouth, forgets everything that he was taught, and then he's born to existence. Now, what is one's capacity or potential regarding Torah? Your potential is what that angel taught you. Whatever the angel taught you, that's the Torah that you're meant to study throughout your lifetime. So a person who's fully engaged and committed and invested in Torah, he has a chance to meet that potential. The Rambam writes in the Laws of Tshuva that every Jew could be as great as Moshe Rabbeinu. Every single Jew. So the question is, do you consider for one moment the Torah attests to the fact that Moshe was the most humble man who ever walked the face of the earth. Moshe Rabbeinu, God openly prophesied with him in the wake state. So what does it mean we can be as great as Moshe Rabbeinu? God's going to speak to us, will communicate with us. Do we have a capacity to be? The word infinitesimal is an overstatement in terms of our comparison to Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu was shokol connected to Israel. He, in his dimension of spirituality, was the equivalent of the whole Jewish people in its entirety. So what do you mean every Jew could be as great as Moshe Rabbeinu? So what it means is that every Jew has a potential. We cannot be more than our potential. Whatever our capacity is, we can't be more than that. But what's demanded of every one of us is to achieve that potential. So just what was the greatness of Moshe Rabbeinu? Of course, his capacity was the equivalent of the whole Jewish people. He met that potential. So just as he met the potential, every Jew, if he meets his potential, his level of accomplishment is no less than Moshe Rabbeinu's accomplishment. That's what it means. Every Jew could be as great as Moshe Rabbeinu. And what is each person's potential? It's based upon what that angel teaches the child in utero before he's born into existence. That is our responsibility and our obligation to meet that and achieve that level of potential.